When Little People, Big World premiered on TLC in 2006, the Roloffs quickly became one of the most recognized families on reality television. At the center of the series was Matt Roloff, a man with boundless imagination and a tireless drive to transform challenges into opportunities. He lived by the philosophy that obstacles could be turned into stepping stones, and he embodied that spirit as he built dreamlike structures on his Oregon property, operated Roloff Farms, and raised 4 children with his then-wife, Amy. To fans, the Roloffs represented something rare on television at the time, a family both ordinary and extraordinary, navigating the daily struggles of marriage, parenting, and business while also showing viewers what life was like for little people in a world designed for average-sized bodies. Over nearly 2 decades, Matt has experienced moments of joy and pride, as well as painful stretches of estrangement, disagreement, and heartbreak. His relationships with his 4 children, Jeremy, Zach, Molly, and Jacob, have never followed a simple path. Instead, they've unfolded with the same uneven rhythm as life itself, shaped by divorce, personal choices, family disputes, and the inevitable pressures of fame. Matt and Amy's love story began in the late 1980s, when they married in 1987 and set out to create a life rooted in shared values of faith, perseverance, and family. Jeremy and Zach, twins born in 1990, arrived just 3 years later. Their daughter Molly followed in 1993, and their youngest Jacob came along in 1997. In those early years, the Roloffs were not much different from any other growing family. They worked hard, celebrated milestones, and juggled the demands of parenting. But by the time the TLC cameras entered their lives, everything changed. The early episodes introduced viewers to Matt's visionary side. He was never content with ordinary solutions. Where most saw problems, he saw possibilities. This creativity made him the heart of Roloff Farms, which evolved into a sprawling attraction known for its annual pumpkin season. But while his imagination captured the attention of fans, it was his role as a father that became the true centerpiece of the show. Audiences witnessed both the tenderness and the tension in his interactions with his children, and over time, the family's personal struggles often became indistinguishable from the entertainment being produced for television. As seasons passed, it became clear that the Roloffs' lives were changing not only because of time, but also because of the spotlight. By 2016, after nearly 3 decades together, Matt and Amy divorced. The cameras documented their unraveling marriage and the uneasy process of moving forward as co-parents. Both eventually found new partners. Amy remarried, while Matt began dating Karen Chandler, a former Roloff Farms employee he became engaged to in 2023. Their relationship ended abruptly in 2025, bringing yet another shift in Matt's personal life. But while fans followed these developments with confusion, it was the more subtle story of his relationship with his children that carried the most emotional weight. Each of Matt's children carved a distinct path, and their choices reflected both independence and the challenges of growing up on television. Jacob, the youngest, was the first to reject the public life. By 2014, at only 18, he had decided he no longer wanted to participate in the show. He spoke openly in later years about his disillusionment, explaining that he felt the show had reduced complex human lives into simplistic characters for entertainment. His words revealed not only his personal frustration, but also the hidden cost of growing up under constant surveillance. Jacob's decision to leave strained his connection to the family for a time, as he distanced himself both physically and emotionally. Yet, as he matured, he found his way back, returning to Oregon and eventually settling on the farm with his wife, Isabel, and their son. For Matt, seeing Jacob embrace farm life was deeply meaningful. The son who once seemed most detached from his vision had become the one most willing to nurture the land. While Jeremy, one of the twins, also chose a life beyond TLC, though his exit was shaped more by aspiration than disillusionment. After marrying Audrey in 2014, he stayed with the show for several more years before announcing in 2018 that he and his wife were stepping away to pursue new opportunities. Together, they built a brand focused on family, faith, and relationships, drawing audiences to their podcast, books, and YouTube channel. While his departure from the show was amicable, the question of the farm's future created tension. Jeremy and Audrey expressed interest in the property at one point, but ultimately, disagreements and financial realities meant that the transition never happened. Still, Jeremy's tone toward his family and fans remained gracious, acknowledging the support they had received and framing their decision as one of growth rather than rejection. Meanwhile, the Roloffs' only daughter, Molly, took a different route altogether. Preferring privacy over publicity, she withdrew from the spotlight and built a quiet life focused on her career and marriage. She rarely appears on social media and largely avoids public events connected to the show. While her choice has meant fewer visible ties to the family story, it also spared her from some of the conflicts that plagued her brothers. For Matt, Molly's distance has been bittersweet. Though she is absent from much of the public narrative, she remains a beloved daughter, carving her path with quiet determination. The most turbulent relationship, however, has been with Zach, who once seemed poised to carry on his father's dream for Roloff Farms. Deeply involved in the show and the property, Zach had always been close to both the land and the legacy it represented. But when negotiations over purchasing part of the farm collapsed in 2021, a painful rift opened between father and son. Matt claimed his twin sons had chosen not to take on the responsibility, but Zach countered by accusing his father of manipulation, publicly voicing his disappointment. The disagreement went beyond real estate. It cut into the trust and bond between father and son. By 2024, Zach and his wife Tori made the decision to leave the show entirely, announcing that their time on the show was finished. They relocated to Washington to raise their 3 children and build a life apart from the cameras and the farm. When asked about his relationship with Matt, Zach described it as non-existent, admitting that time and distance were necessary to protect his own family. For Matt, this estrangement was painful. He admitted through tears in interviews that despite everything, he still believed love bound them together and that time could eventually mend the rift. His words reflected the complicated emotions of a father who had watched his children grow up under extraordinary circumstances and who now faced the reality that his dream for the farm might not align with theirs. In contrast, Jacob's presence on the farm became a quiet source of hope. With Isabel, he began raising his own child on the property, caring for the soil and embracing a life more grounded than televised. Jacob reflected openly about what it meant to live on Roloff Farms without cameras, describing the difference between a farm built for entertainment and a farm lived in as a home. The story of Matt Roloff and his children is, in many ways, the story of family itself. There are moments of unity, such as the day in 2018 when they all gathered for Jacob's wedding, a rare occasion when every sibling and parent stood together in celebration. And there are moments of fracture, such as the bitter disputes over the farm or the revelations of past trauma that forced difficult conversations. Nearly 20 years after the show first aired, Matt's journey as a father remains unfinished. He has seen his children grow from toddlers into adults, watch them marry, start families, and move away. And he has navigated the painful realization that his vision for their future does not always match their own. Today, Jeremy pursues creative ventures with Audrey, Molly quietly lives her own life away from cameras, Zach builds his future in Washington, and Jacob tends the soil of Roloff Farms with his young family. Each path is different, and each reflects the complicated ways children grow into adulthood. For Matt, the farm still stands as both a physical landmark and a metaphor for the family he built. Sturdy, weathered, sometimes divided, but always rooted in something deeper. And that, as fans know, is a story still being written.